Nia Thompson stepped off the yellow bus, her sneakers hitting the cracked pavement of Brooklyn High School with a quiet thud. A black girl from Chicago, she clutched her backpack straps, her dark eyes scanning the red brick fortress ahead. It was her senior year, and all she wanted was to vanish into the crowd. Another face in the sea of students, unnoticed, undisturbed. She'd transferred too many times, each school a blur of curious stares and unspoken questions about her skin, her silence. Nia knew the drill. Keep your head down, leave no mark, survive. But today the air felt heavy, electric, like a storm brewing behind those dull gray windows. The hallway swallowed her, a river of chatter and clanging lockers. She moved like a shadow, dodging elbows, avoiding eyes. Whispers trailed her, soft, sharp, probing. Who's she? Where's she from? Nia tightened her grip, her heart thudding with a familiar ache. She wasn't here to be seen, to be known. She'd learned long ago that silence was her shield, a way to dodge the inevitable scrutiny of being the new black girl in a mostly white world. Her father, Darius, had taught her more than just how to throw a punch in his gym. He drilled into her discipline, control, the art of staying calm when the world pressed in. But as Nia slipped past the light blue lockers, a chill prickled her spine. Something was different here. The stares weren't just curious, they were hungry, waiting. She glanced up, catching a flash of blonde hair and a cold porcelain smile cutting through the crowd. Kelsey Pierce. Nia didn't know her yet, but that look, sharp, assessing, dangerous, told her everything. This wasn't just a school, it was a battlefield, and Nia had just stepped into the crosshairs. Nia Thompson drifted through Brooklyn High School's crowded halls, a ghost in a storm of noise. She found her locker, fingers fumbling with the combination, her breath steady despite the weight of eyes on her back. She wanted invisibility, but the whispers had already begun. Soft at first, like a breeze rustling leaves. New girl from Chicago. Looks out of place, doesn't she? Nia ignored them, sliding her books inside, her jaw tight. She'd faced this before. Every school, every town, the same silent judgment. But here, something sharper lingered in the air. Then she felt it, a presence slicing through the chatter. Kelsey Pierce emerged, tall and commanding, her blonde curls bouncing with each deliberate step. Her plaid dress clung to her slim frame, expensive and pristine, a banner of her status. Flanking her were Sasha, red-hilled and hawk-eyed, and Taylor, dark-hilled and quiet, her words rare but lethal. Kelsey didn't walk, she glided, a queen claiming her court, every gaze bending toward her. Nia caught her stare, cold, predatory, a silent promise of trouble. She looked away, locking her locker with a soft click, but her pulse quickened. She knew that look. It wasn't curiosity. It was a challenge. By lunchtime, the whispers had teeth. Nia sat at the cafeteria's farthest table, a sanctuary of solitude, her tray untouched. Across the room, Kelsey held court, her laugh sharp as glass. Then it happened. Sasha and Taylor strolled over, their steps casual but calculated. "Hey, new girl," Sasha called, her voice dripping with mockery. "Chicago must not teach manners. You don't even say hi?" Nia kept her eyes down, spoon hovering over her soup. Taylor smirked. Maybe she's just slow. Bet she can't even talk right. Snickers rippled nearby, a chorus of cruelty. Nia's grip tightened, but she stayed silent, breathing slow, steady. She wouldn't give them the reaction they craved. Kelsey watched, her smile curling like smoke. Silence, to her, was weakness, an invitation. She rose, juice cup in hand, and sauntered toward Nia. The room hushed, phones poised to capture the kill. "You're awfully lonely over here," Kelsey purred, leaning close. "Don't you want friends?" Before Nia could blink, Kelsey splashed, juice splashing across Nia's tray, soaking her bread, dripping onto her lap. "Oops," Kelsey gasped, her tone a mockery of regret. Laughter erupted, loud and jagged. Nia froze, then stood, her movements deliberate. She dumped the tray in the trash, her face a mask of calm, and walked out. The silence that followed was deafening. Kelsey's triumph soured by Nia's unshaken stillness. Days bled into weeks, and Kelsey's game sharpened. In English class, she perched beside Nia, whispering lies loud enough to sting. Heard she got kicked out of Chicago for stealing. Trash like her doesn't belong here. Nia's pencil scratched on, her knuckles white. In the halls, Taylor accidentally bumped her, books scattering, while Sasha giggled. Clumsy much. Each jab was a needle, precise and public, but Nia swallowed the sting, her father's voice echoing in her mind. Control, Nia. Strength is in the calm, she'd promised herself. No more fights, no more mistakes like Erica, the girl she'd hurt 2 years ago. She'd transferred to escape that shame. She wouldn't break again. But Kelsey smelled blood. Gym class became her playground. Brandon Pierce, Kelsey's brother, loomed large in his number 12 jersey, a football god with a lazy grin and hard eyes. Milo Rivera, lanky and wild, trailed him, itching for chaos. When the teacher called for laps, Brandon darted ahead, cutting Nia off, forcing her to stumble. Milo joined in, shoving her shoulder as he passed. "Watch it, newbie," he sneered. Nia regained her footing, her breath hitching, but her face stayed stone. Kelsey lounged on the bleachers, her smile a blade. "She's pathetic," she muttered to Sasha. "Won't even fight back." The whispers grew bolder. "She's scared. Kelsey owns her." Nia heard it all, her chest tight with a storm she buried deep. She didn't want this war, but Kelsey wouldn't relent. One afternoon, a prank hit harder. Nia opened her locker to find her books gone, replaced by a note, "Go back to Chicago, freak." Laughter echoed as she stood there, staring at the empty metal. Kelsey leaned against the wall, arms crossed, triumphant. "Lost something?" she taunted. Nia shut the locker, her hands trembling. Not with fear, but with the effort to hold back. She walked away, but the crowd parted, their eyes shifting. Something was changing. That night, Nia sank onto her couch, the small house quiet except for Nia Thompson's footsteps. He dropped his gym bag, his broad frame filling the room, and sat beside her. "What's wrong, kid?" His voice was warm, steady. Nia exhaled, spilling it all. Kelsey's taunts, the juice, the locker, the endless pressure. "I'm trying, Dad, but I'm scared I'll snap again." Darius's eyes softened, but his tone hardened. "You don't start fights, Nia. You end them. Strength isn't just holding back, it's knowing when to stand." She nodded, his words sinking in, a lifeline in the chaos. The next morning, a note waited on her locker. "After school, behind the gym. Show up or be a coward. Kelsey Pierce." Nia folded it, her pulse steady now. The halls buzzed, electric with anticipation. Kelsey strutted past, flanked by Brandon, Milo, Sasha, and Taylor, her voice cutting through. "Hope you're ready, Nia. I'm done with your fake tough act." Nia met her gaze, unflinching. "I'll be there," she said, her voice low, firm. Kelsey smirked, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. The crowd hushed, sensing the shift. Nia turned away, her steps sure. She didn't want this, but she was ready. The storm was coming, and she'd face it head-on. The sky hung low and gray over Brooklyn High School, a heavy shroud matching the tension crackling in the air. Nia Thompson stepped out of her final class, her heart pounding, not with fear, but with a fire she'd kept buried too long. The tiled hallway echoed her footsteps as she moved toward the sports field, each sound a drumbeat to the showdown ahead. Behind the gym, a crowd had gathered, 20 students, maybe more, their whispers buzzing like static. Nia scanned them, her dark eyes steady, landing on Kelsey Pierce in the center, arms crossed, her blonde hair a beacon of defiance. Kelsey smirked, stepping forward, her voice slicing through the quiet. "Thought you'd scurry off, Nia. Glad you've got some guts after all." Laughter rippled behind her, sharp and brittle. Brandon Pierce loomed at her side, his football jersey stretched tight over his broad shoulders, while Milo Rivera grinned, his sharp eyes glinting with mischief. Sasha and Taylor lingered back, their faces tight with anticipation. Nia stood still, her backpack straps taut in her grip, her breath even. She didn't flinch, didn't waver. Kelsey tilted her head, her tone venomous. "Today, you learn your place. Bottom of the pile, where trash belongs." Nia's gaze locked on Kelsey's, cold and unyielding. "You'll regret this," she said, her voice low, steady, a warning wrapped in calm. The crowd stilled, the air thickening. Kelsey laughed, but it faltered, her confidence flickering. She nodded at Brandon, a silent command. He cracked his knuckles and lumbered forward, towering over Nia. "Let's make this quick," he grunted, swinging a meaty hand to shove her down, but Nia moved fast. Fluid, a shadow slipping free. She sidestepped, grabbed his wrist and twisted, using his own force against him. With a sharp pull, she sent Brandon crashing to the dirt, his gasp loud in the stunned silence. The crowd froze, eyes wide. Brandon scrambled up, red-faced, but before he could charge again, Milo lunged, fists clenched. "You're done," he snarled, aiming a wild swing. Nia ducked, her movements precise, honed by years in Nia Thompson's gym. She caught Milo's arm mid-strike, spun him around, and locked it behind his back. He yelped, buckling to his knees, his bravado crumbling. Nia held him just long enough, firm, controlled, then released, stepping back. Her chest rose and fell, her face a mask of focus. The onlookers gaped, whispers dying in their throats. Kelsey's porcelain skin paled, her smirk gone. "Get up," she hissed at Brandon and Milo, her voice trembling with rage. They staggered to their feet, bruised and shaken, but Kelsey wasn't done. She charged, a desperate scream tearing from her lips, her hands clawing for Nia's shoulders. It was sloppy, frantic, a queen losing her crown. Nia reacted instantly, her training a reflex. She pivoted, seized Kelsey's wrist and yanked her forward, letting her stumble into the dirt. Dust clouded around them as Kelsey hit her knees, her breath ragged, her eyes wild with panic. Nia loomed over her, unyielding but calm. She leaned close, her voice a whisper sharp enough to cut. "You're not strong, Kelsey. You never were." Kelsey flinched, her hands trembling in the soil. Nia straightened, her gaze sweeping the crowd, some awed, some afraid. She didn't revel in it. This wasn't victory for her, it was necessity. She'd warned them, and they'd pushed too far. Brandon and Milo hung back, heads low, their fight gone. Sasha and Taylor shrank into the shadows, their loyalty unraveling. Kelsey clawed at the ground, her empire in ruins. The crowd's silence roared louder than any cheer. Nia turned, her steps deliberate, leaving the chaos behind. She'd ended it, not with anger, but with the strength her father had forged in her. The air shifted, heavy with the weight of what they'd all seen. Kelsey's reign was over. And Nia had drawn the line. No one would cross again. Nia Thompson's sneakers scuffed the gravel as she walked away from the sports field, the gray sky casting long shadows over Brooklyn High School. The air buzzed with the crowd's fading whispers, their eyes trailing her like spotlights she never asked for. Her breath came steady, but her chest tightened, not with triumph, but with a quiet, heavy ache. She'd wanted invisibility, a senior year lost in the shuffle. Instead, she'd toppled a tyrant. Behind her, Kelsey Pierce knelt in the dirt, her blonde curls matted with dust, her hands clawing at the ground. The queen had fallen, and Nia had swung the blade. Kelsey's voice cracked through the silence, sharp and desperate. "This isn't over, Nia, you hear me?" It was a hollow threat, a crownless ruler shouting into the void. Brandon Pierce stood off to the side, his broad shoulders slumped, rubbing his bruised wrist where Nia had twisted him down. Milo Rivera kicked a pebble, his wild grin replaced by a scowl, his pride as battered as his knees. Sasha and Taylor hovered at the crowd's edge, their loyalty unraveling. They didn't step forward, didn't meet Kelsey's frantic gaze. The onlookers shifted, their murmurs evolving. "She took them all down," one voice hissed. "Kelsey's finished," another replied. Nia kept walking, her steps deliberate. She didn't turn back. She didn't need to see the wreckage to feel its weight. The schoolyard emptied, students scattering like leaves in a gust, their chatter a low hum of disbelief and awe. Nia's victory wasn't loud. It was a quiet thunder, reshaping the ground beneath Brooklyn High. Kelsey staggered to her feet, her plaid dress streaked with soil, her porcelain facade cracked. She glared after Nia, her fists trembling, but the fire in her eyes flickered, dimmed by doubt. Brandon muttered something low, then turned away, abandoning his sister to the silence. Milo followed, head down, his chaos tamed. Sasha and Taylor vanished into the dusk, their whispers lost to the wind. Kelsey stood alone, a deposed monarch in a kingdom that no longer bowed. Nia reached the edge of the school grounds, the tension draining from her shoulders. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt raw, exposed, the fight replaying in her mind. Brandon's fall, Milo's yelp, Kelsey's stumble. She'd ended it, but the cost lingered. Home waited, a small house on a quiet street, its faded walls a sanctuary. She pushed the door open and collapsed onto the sofa, the cushions sinking under her weight, her hands pressed to her face, blocking out the world. The creak of the floor announced Nia Thompson's arrival. He dropped his gym bag, the thud soft but grounding, and settled beside her. His presence was a rock in the storm. "You okay, kid?" Darius's voice was warm, steady, cutting through her haze. Nia exhaled, her words tumbling out. The note on her locker, the taunts, the showdown behind the gym. "I didn't want to fight, Dad. I just couldn't let them keep pushing." Her voice wavered, the memory of Erica surfacing. The girl from Chicago, the punch she couldn't take back, the hospital bed that forced Nia to run. "I was scared I'd lose it again." Darius rested a hand on her shoulder, his grip firm, his eyes fierce with understanding. "You didn't lose it, Nia. You controlled it. You stood up, not just for you, but for what's right. That's power." She leaned into him, his words a balm on old wounds. He was right. She hadn't lashed out blindly. She'd moved with purpose, her father's lessons guiding her hands. Darius pulled her close, his voice dropping low. "I taught you to defend, not destroy. You ended their game without breaking yourself. That's what matters." Nia nodded, tears pricking her eyes, not from shame, but relief. The ghost of Erica faded, replaced by the strength she'd found today. "I just want peace now," she murmured. Darius hugged her tighter. "You've got it, kid. They won't touch you again. You showed them who you are." Outside, Brooklyn High School trembled in the wake of change. Kelsey's empire had crumbled, her name a whisper of pity instead of fear. Nia lay back, the sofa creaking beneath her, and closed her eyes. The storm inside her eased, a quiet settling in its place. She hadn't sought this war, but she'd fought it. Cleanly, decisively. The school would talk, the halls would shift, but Nia didn't care. She'd reclaimed her space, her dignity, and as the evening deepened, she felt something new, not just survival, but a fragile, hard-won calm. The battle was over, and she'd walked away whole. The morning sun spilled through Brooklyn High School's windows, painting the hallways in soft gold. Nia Thompson stepped inside, her sneakers quiet on the tiles, her backpack slung over one shoulder. The air felt different, lighter, unshackled from the weight of Kelsey Pierce's reign. Yesterday's fight behind the gym lingered in the walls, a story already growing into legend. Nia didn't swagger or smile, she moved as she always had, calm, steady, a shadow seeking peace. But the eyes that followed her weren't cold or curious anymore. They were warm, respectful, a silent nod to the girl who'd changed everything. Kelsey Pierce shuffled through the same halls, her steps heavy, her blonde curls limp against her shoulders. The plaid dress hung on her like a relic of a lost era. She kept her head down, her hands stuffed in her pockets, avoiding the gazes that once adored her. Whispers trailed her now, not of power but of pity. "She's nothing without her crew," a voice murmured. "One day and she's gone," another added. Brandon Pierce lingered near the lockers, his jersey wrinkled, his easy grin replaced by a frown. He didn't look at his sister. Milo Rivera slouched by the water fountain, his mischief dulled. Sasha and Taylor walked past, their chatter muted, their loyalty long fled. Kelsey's empire had vanished overnight, leaving her a ghost in her own kingdom. Nia reached her locker, her fingers tracing the spot where the note had been. She opened it, finding her books returned. Someone's quiet apology, perhaps. A few students nodded as they passed, their greetings soft but genuine. "Hey, Nia," one said. She returned a small smile, her heart lifting. She didn't want their worship, didn't crave the throne Kelsey had lost. She just wanted space to breathe, to be, but the shift was undeniable. Brooklyn High School had shed its old skin, and Nia, without meaning to, had peeled it away. In the cafeteria at lunch, the hum of life returned, but the rhythm had changed. Nia took her usual corner table, her tray simple, soup, bread, and apple. She ate slowly, her eyes drifting to Kelsey, who sat alone 2 tables over. The once central spot was empty, her former allies scattered. Kelsey stared at her food, her fork still, her face a mask of defeat. The room buzzed with chatter, but no one approached her. Nia stood alone. Nia watched, her chest tightening. Not with satisfaction, but with a flicker of understanding. She knew that loneliness, had felt it in every new school, every sidelong glance. She didn't hate Kelsey. She pitied her. After a beat, Nia stood, her tray in hand, and walked toward Kelsey. The cafeteria hushed, forks pausing midair, eyes widening. Kelsey looked up, her breath catching, her hands trembling on the table. Nia stopped, her gaze steady, not harsh. "It's done, Kelsey," she said, her voice soft but clear, carrying across the silence. "I'm not here to keep this going. Let it end." Kelsey blinked, her throat bobbing, words failing her. Nia's tone wasn't a taunt. It was a bridge, a chance to step off the battlefield. She turned and walked away, leaving the words to settle, her steps light but firm. Kelsey sat frozen, her eyes glistening, but she didn't cry. The crowd resumed its noise, softer now, their focus drifting. Nia slipped out into the hall, the sunlight warm on her face as she stepped outside. She exhaled, the last threads of tension unwinding. She'd fought for herself, not for power, and that was enough. Back home, Nia Thompson's words echoed. "Strength is in the calm, Nia, in knowing when to stand." She'd stood, and the world had bent. Brooklyn High School carried on, its halls quieter, its rules unwritten anew. Students spoke of Nia with respect, not fear. Of Kelsey with a shrug, not reverence. The lesson sank deep. Real strength didn't roar or crush. It stood firm, unshaken, lifting others instead of tearing them down. Nia didn't need a crown. She had her dignity, her peace, and as she walked home that evening, the gray sky parting for blue, she knew she'd found something more, herself, whole and unbroken, in a world that finally saw her true.